Hello! What is going on, everybody? Give me just a minute here while I make sure that the stream is going out, audio's good, and the chat is working. But if you can hear me, please say something in chat so I know that you can. And we can go ahead and get started here in just a moment. We're gonna do something a little bit different today. We're still gonna be sculpting characters, some fun, cool, stylized characters. This particular concept being by Dan Kelby, but I thought it would be cool to start in color. I think color is really important when sculpting. I think it helps you figure out proportions, it helps you figure out a lot of distances for stuff like, well, I guess that would be considered proportions as well. Helps you figure out form. I think it helps make your sculpt look a lot better. There are a lot of reasons why I think color is really important for sculpting, but I try not to use it a lot in the beginning, just so that I can focus more on form. But I thought it'd be fun to start with color and maybe try experimenting with that. I don't do that very often, so let's give it a shot. Let's try it out. But yeah, welcome everybody to the Pixelogic ZBrush channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Ben, or I go by Follygon online. You can just Google Follygon, find all my stuff, but there should be a link somewhere at the top of the screen to my YouTube channel. And you'll find links to, if you just Google Follygon, my Gumroad and all sorts of stuff where I have my courses and tutorials. This is just gumroad.com/Follygon. I have some tutorials up here at the top of the screen from right to left, beginner to more intermediate and advanced. And then I have some brushes, materials, base meshes, my custom UI, all that good stuff. But yeah, we're coming off the high of the new ZBrush 2019 announcement. I'm sure a lot of you were around for that. It was pretty cool. We got to see some pretty cool stuff, so I hope you guys are as excited as I am for that. I saw that there was a bunch of hype in chat going on. Those events are always so cool because for me it's like, well, you know, at least for a lot of Americans that celebrate Christmas. I remember when I was a kid, I would always get so excited for Christmas, and anymore it's just like any other day of the year. But I feel like the ZBrush announcement videos for me are like, they give me that giddy feeling, kind of like when I was a kid on Christmas morn. But yeah, they're always fun, really exciting. I think we've talked long enough, so we can go ahead and get on with sculpting here. Again, this awesome concept over here by Dan Kelby. You guys should definitely go check out more of their work. I am Follygon, and yeah, we're just gonna be sculpting tonight. If you guys have any questions, feel free to place them in chat. I'll answer whatever I can. But welcome, Vicar, Win Liu, Kim, Follygon. I saw you in chat. Welcome, Paul. How you doing? Can't recommend your Gumroad content enough. So good. Well, thank you, man. That's very nice of you. Appreciate that. 2019 does look great. Can confirm. Does look great. And CG Dreams, Ranger Seal. Welcome, guys. How's everybody doing? All right. So essentially what I'm going to do here, I think, is start by, obviously I got the color already selected here, but I think I'm just going to start blocking out the major shapes of the body. If we really break this dude down, if we just kind of like outline this guy, he's really just like a kind of a big, in general, oval shape. And then obviously he's got like some extra additional like breaks around his chest line here. If we go our transpose line, you can see that there's some additional kind of width there. But for the most part, he's a pretty simple shape, at least from this front view. So let's just start by trying to get that main shape of the character. So what I'm gonna do, I know we're using this blue color here. Let's actually switch this to gray. So we're not trying to block out the entire jacket right now. We're more so trying to do like the full body here. And then I think what we'll do is start breaking this up a little bit more. So let me grab my slice curve and we'll start cutting this thing up. Juan Carlos, welcome, man. Welcome. How are you doing? All right. So I'm thinking, let's see. Let's rotate this to the side and get some kind of quick line down this way. So I've duplicated my sphere really quick. More egg shape right now. And essentially I'm just slicing off where this jacket is to get the most basic shape there. We'll just kind of get a quick little poly ring by doing that. I'll turn on double on both of these as well. I like to keep on double most of the time because I like to see back-facing polys. And with that, I'll just make that a little bit larger. And now I'll make this piece, my jacket, and I'll just sample this kind of like base color. So now we got an egg with a little with a little band around it. Beautiful. We're almost to a tiger eventually. All right, and I'll just use my move brush here and maybe remesh this jacket really quick so we can get that even lower poly, even more simple to manipulate. Honestly, the lower poly, a lot of the time, the better for me. Oh, we got a weird little tweak going on up here. To mirror and weld that really quick. If you guys didn't see that new addition for mirror and weld, that is something that I've been wanting for a while. Because with my workflow now, I have to press 2 whole buttons. I have to press mirror and then mirror and weld. They cut my workflow in half. Now I only have to press a single button. It's great. Here, let me, I'm just gonna, because I don't feel like taking the time to fix this for a long time, I'm just gonna mirror and weld it across and then remesh it. Very quick, easy way to fix that. Mitali, welcome. How you doing, man? Good to see another one of your streams. Well, welcome. Glad you could make it. All right, now for the booty. The booty and the legs. I think I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I did for the jacket. Just duplicate another one of our eggs and slice off the bottom portion. So that'll be essentially the pants. And then we'll add on some legs as well. Let's fill in that color. We remeshed our jacket, so we have to fix that color. Reapply that. Maybe shrink that down a bit. And you know what? We'll leave it for now, because once I smooth that out, it'll shrink in a little bit. All right, and then the legs. I think for the legs, let's see. Let's just do, I think we could do a sphere or a cylinder. It doesn't really matter. So let's just do a cylinder since I have this perfect creased cylinder in here that I like to use a lot. You can actually, if you guys didn't know, what I like to do, the IMM primitive brush is an awesome brush. Whoops. It's got a bunch of different stuff in here, but I actually have a few primitives that I like to work with more so than what's in here. Like a perfect cube, which is just an exactly 6-sided cube. The cubes here have, if we pull these out, you can see that they're denser, have different resolutions. And then there's the Q cube, which is a, it's subdivided once. So with my cube, it's just a perfectly 6-sided cube and it has the polygroups and everything. I actually prefer that just so I can start with a really good base. Same thing with my cylinder here. It's just a little bit more clean and it's actually creased and ready to go. So you can actually get those creases in there if you want to take those with you, which I certainly do. All right. So we're going to scale and move this down. Start getting this into place and just block out where that leg will be. So if we look at the basic shape here, it kind of follows the form of the egg, the basic silhouette shape down to this point, and then it tapers in really far. So he's kind of got like this really high, almost knee hit right there. So if we can get that in there, I think that would be pretty sweet. So we should try to do that. Try to follow the form of our silhouette all the way through. And to do that, we'll probably need some more resolution in this. So I'll just hit Control D, add in a subdiv, and then use a large move brush, start sliding that out, shape it up a little bit. And then from there, we can start, adjusting the shape here a little bit more, kind of pull down, scale this in really far as it starts to get really narrow there. And our objective is just to get the geometry in place right now. We're not really trying to be absolutely perfect. So let's just mirror and weld that back over to the other side. Beautiful. The thigh gap is a little bit big, obviously, so we'll have to make some changes there as well. But we'll worry about proportions here in a minute. Let's continue to get some of the rest of the geometry in here. Let's see, let's scale that up a little bit just so we have that taking up a little bit more room. This looks so awkward right now. I love it. It's beautiful. All right, so let's grab our little egg-shaped head and we'll start pulling this out, and I'm just gonna try to match that shape a little bit better here. So we come up to here and then it hits a little bit of a point and then becomes a little bit triangular. So I think I'll just start by pulling out this shape, getting it a little bit wider, and then maybe trying to get that first hit. Let's just leave that for now. Let's add in a couple more parts and pieces up here, like the big old mouth. He's got these really tiny eyes. If you guys want to make a character that feels really big, oftentimes you can just give them a really small face, or in this case, some really small eyes, and it'll either make them feel, depending on how you do it, it can make them feel stupid, or it can make them feel very large, which in this case, I think it makes this character feel very large with these little beady eyes. This is looking egg-ordinary. Well, thank you, Shane. The puns have started already. That's when you know it's gonna be a good stream. Oh man. It's been a minute since I've streamed on my channel because I've been working on my new course for a while, so I have not received as many puns as of late. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the puns. Extraordinary. That's a little bit better, I agree. Alright, so our basic shape here, you know what, a cube might have been a little bit better for this schnoz, but I think we'll make this work with a sphere, since that's what we have inserted already. And because I'm lazy, I'm not gonna grab a new cube, I'm just gonna use the geometry that I got. And just start blocking out that shape a little bit more. And getting a little messy, so we'll start to Dynamesh, start to move our geometry around. I'm trying to think what this guy's doing from the profile. Bigger dude, he's got his chest out a little bit, legs back a little bit more. And with the head, could go a couple different ways here. Just trying to interpret the form here a little bit better. Let's stick with, oh, wrong piece. Let's just stick with what we got here. We'll just start to plane this nose out a little bit more. And just start to get some of the silhouette in there a little bit better. So we got one, and then we got like a little dip in, and then up into the face there. Ah, okay, I see. If we look at this line, kind of coming out a little bit, so we definitely have some taper going on there, which is something that I'm always looking for. Just kind of one of those fundamentals. Thinking about thick to thin, trying to avoid parallels if possible. Parallels end up making stuff look really boring, and I would say try to avoid them unless it's specifically adding to the shape that you're trying to create. And a lot of the time, it's not. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll slice this little schnoz in half. I'll actually do a little angled slice. What I like to do with my slice curve brush is slice stuff at an angle and then mirror and weld it for a little kind of angled effect like what we got there. So I'll just split that off, do a couple quick close holes operations. Beautiful, beautiful. And we'll start to pull that out. And then let's see. Whoops, wrong brush. Start to do some quick selections. The best egg, that's right. Little egg boy here. Really, I mean, everything that I sculpt, it's not, I don't think sculpting is really that hard. What I do think is difficult though is really trying to see stuff for what it is and just breaking stuff down into their most simple shapes. That's really what it's all about, or at least it's a huge, huge portion of art in general. Just being able to break things down. First think about the larger form, which kind of an egg. And then now we're starting to get into some more secondary shapes here. And then from there, obviously, more tertiary or high resolution detail. But, you know, with everything, you have to have that initial shape looking pretty good first. If you don't, no amount of detail you do on top of that's gonna save it. No amount of icing will save a bad bake. That's what I always say, at least. And I'm not much of a baker, so. All right, that's starting to get there. We need a little bit more roundness towards the front. If I can select this mesh, there we go. Just trying to keep that from becoming too flat. I'm not using too many like complex brushes here. This is awesome. All right, let's start getting some more parts and pieces in here so this doesn't feel quite so silly, quite so egg-tastic. All right, so we got our little jacket up here. I think for now, let's just close holes on this, right? And we'll fix that up later, get that more into the shape that we need. Let's add on some quick arms. I think we'll just append a few spheres here. And just drop these into place. And for the jacket, it looks like we have a little bit of a hood as well. Kind of got an angle going up on the profile. And what I like to do for hoods a lot of the time is use a curve brush. I'll use one of the default ones so we can follow along if anybody is. I'm using the curve tube snap one. Let's click and drag that out here. That's pretty thick. So I think what I will do, go into my stroke menu under curve modifier size. Let's turn that on, tap our mesh. And now we're going from thin to thick all the way back. I think we'll just keep that. Let's just click to accept that, / delete our curve essentially. And let's just get rid of that mesh that we inserted that on top of. All right, beautiful. Let's continue blocking this guy out. I'm just gonna use my move brush with back face masking and start pulling back on a basic shape here for our hood. Now I can't really see too much past this point, but it looks like it's a pretty thin material based on the amount of thickness that it's adding to the character's body and based off what I can kind of see here, the way that's kind of flipped up. It looks like it's pretty thin. So we'll keep that in mind as we pull that back and start adding some more shape. But for now, we'll just leave it really simple. Just a tube of geometry. Let's get our arms in here. You look very young. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's play a game called Guess My Age. I'll start the bid at 14. That's as low as you can go. You can go up from there. All right, let's pull these arms out some more. And for the jacket, I actually want to add some quick creases to this jacket. If you guys didn't know, down here in the crease menu, this is awesome. You can just click on crease, and this crease tolerance slider here will essentially look at any edge angle above whatever this number is, so 45 degrees, and it will add a crease to that. So if you were to set that, to 89 degrees, essentially if you had a 90-degree angle, it would crease that. So you can crease or uncrease all. There's a bunch of really cool options in there for some quick crease stuff. But I think just a quick crease for now will do the job. We'll just start to shape this up a little bit better. You also need some feet, but we'll continue on with our arms here. Let's see, let's just pull out this sphere with a quick transpose line. And really, these arms aren't much to write home about. I mean, really so this arm doesn't have really an elbow hit. This one does. This, I think, is more so just the form of the forearm, kind of there. It's a very interesting shape, but I think it works. That plus I think you maybe swinging that arm back based on the angle of the bag. We'll have to do some interpretation of that. But yeah, we'll just kind of pull this sphere out. Looks like the arms come down to about groinal region, which is what we would actually see on a human character as well. Your arms, at least for humans or anthro characters, should be able to grasp their groin. It's a good way to remember how long to make your arms. And then typically the elbow hit is somewhere around the belly button. Turn off back face masking, and we might want to thin out those arms. What I'm gonna do though, just run a quick slice betwixt those. And let's just do a quick Z remesh with keep groups on. For those that have seen the ZBrush 29 update, that feature still works with that. I am Loving the new Z remesher. It's good stuff. Even for organic modeling, which is a lot of what I do. Most of the hard surface stuff that I do here in ZBrush is done with what I'm using right now, the Z Modeler brush. I love the Z Modeler brush. One of my favorite additions to ZBrush in a very long time. Alright, so I'm just lowering the poly count here manually. I've turned on local sim so that I can like scale up some of the shapes here. And essentially, what I've done here, now I could have appended a cylinder and started Z modeling that, but it's just easier to work more organically, just insert a quick piece of geometry, stretch it out, you know, play with it, go crazy, and then remesh it later. At least for me it is. And then I can, if I want to turn this into a sleeve, that would be really easy to do. So let's see, let's bevel an edge loop here. And then essentially I'm just going to push in on that geometry. I'm also going to do a bevel here around the elbow. And the reason I've done a bevel there is so that we get a little bit of a tighter crease, just a tiny bit. That's working out pretty well, for now at least. Kind of figure out the placement here for our shoulder. If we actually look here, there's a really nice curve going on here on this side, a nice dip in, so we'll have to get that in later. Only a few more hours, that's right. Tomorrow at noon Pacific is when that update is coming out for all of us. So get excited. ZBrush 2019 is here. And for those that missed the live stream, there is the VOD available over on Twitch. If you're watching here on Twitch, the VOD should be available right now, I believe is what I heard. And it will be up on their YouTube channel within, I don't know exactly how soon. All I heard was that they're working on it. Alright, let's keep blocking out a few more things here. Z Remesher 3.0 is the best new feature by far. I don't know, man. There's a lot of good stuff coming. A lot of really cool stuff coming our way. But yeah, it's awesome. I really like it. It's incredible actually what they're able to accomplish with just automatic quick topology. I always thought, like, I'm blown away by what it can do now in the current version, but with the new updates for a lot of the hard surface stuff that's been tweaked there, holy crap, it's like mind-blowing what we're able to achieve. Alright, I think these, what do you call these, knees come out a little bit further there. We'll have to play with that. Like I said, the thigh gap as well. I think we're going to have to taper him down a little bit more as it comes down here. Let's see, let's add in a bevel here. There's another instance of making geometry a little bit tighter in that area. Toes and a tail, and some stuff up on the face, of course. I think what we'll probably do is, after blocking this out for a little bit, spend a little bit more time on the face, and then if there's any specific areas that people have questions about, then we can focus in on those a little bit more. So I'll focus in on the face after I block in a couple more things here. I just wanted to clean that up really quick. So toes, let's see, I think a really simple cube would represent that fairly well. So let's get that in. What is everybody else's favorite new feature that they saw in the 2019 update? Like I said, there's a bunch of really cool stuff coming. What are we most excited for? I am personally super pumped for some folders because people have been dying for folders for quite a while. What's up, Ashley? Hello. Wondering if updating will mess up my UI and stuff. I can confirm no, that it will not. I've personally had a hand in playing around, so I have been able to test it. And it did not mess up my user interface. Oh, I had polyframe on. I was like so confused why that wasn't changing to the color I was filling in there. That was super screwing with my brain. Alright, let's see. Let me just rotate this real quick. We got some quick little dinky toes down here. Beautiful. A little trick here that you guys can do that I find really fun. If you don't like the level of smooth that you're getting here and you don't want to sit here and mess with your dynamic subdivision levels here, I like to turn off smooth subdivide really quick and just add a quick subdivision level and just see. Alright, that's working a little bit better. So I can essentially, if you guys saw that cube that I inserted earlier that I said was subdivided once, I like to use that perfect cube, but in this case, this one's a little bit better in this situation. So we'll just leave that for now. Little quick toesies. Francisco, what's up, man? Welcome, welcome. How's the progress coming on the character? The Giovanni JoJo character. Enjoy folders the most, but all of the filter settings seemed like a lot of fun as well. Yes, they did. I had a blast playing around with those. There's some really cool effects that you can get out of there. Pablo Gomez was able to get a ton of, if you guys know Pablander, I think he presented I believe he's the one who did the painterly effect filters. But yes, he was able to get some really cool stuff out of there. And I was able to do some slight painterly, like, rendering effects. Not to that degree. I really want to play around more with the, I can't remember the exact name of the filter, but it essentially allows you to get some paint strokes. I think it's just called, it's essentially the color squares. It's called color something. I can't remember off the top of my head, though. Alright. And what I'll do for the hands here is just drop in a quick sphere. Insert sphere. So this is how I typically block out my characters. Just keep things really simple. Low poly. And just get everything represented with some most basic shapes. And I keep things so low poly because it kind of acts as insurance for myself so that I don't end up working on stuff that I shouldn't. So it keeps us working on the most basic and primary form. We don't have to worry too much about letting things get away from us too early on in the process. So very simplistic right now, yes. But let's go up here and focus in on our face for a good chunk of time here. Start getting a little bit more complex with some of this stuff and see what we can do. Let's see. Whoops, got the wrong mesh selected there. This is pretty messy, isn't it? Let's just do a quick little remesh there. And what I want to do is just very quickly start to taper this in a little bit more. Get that feeling a bit more like a mouth. And I don't know if I really like the slope of the egg shape of his face here too much. Kind of want to flatten this out a little bit more in the front so it's not quite as rounded. So I think what I'll do, I like the hit here that we're getting around the chest, this point here. It's probably going to be about where it starts to turn this shape. Let's just kind of keep that in mind a little bit here as we continue forward. So now we can start pushing that forward a little bit more in the chest. And we got a little bit of a hit up here as well that we'll take care of. Stuck on the hair! Oh no. Hair's tough. Hair is very hard. The ZBrush and Spotlight thingy. So the the projection snapshot toolset with Spotlight. I'm actually using Spotlight right now, but I'm using it as a reference image that I just have placed up here in the top corner of my screen. So if you guys didn't see, they added in some new features with the Spotlight tool that allow you to use alpha maps to essentially, they call it snapshot, but essentially project geometry or extrude geometry from your alpha. So you can import your own alphas, customize them, combine them, boolean them, subtract them, you know, all sorts of crazy stuff. Really, really cool for just like quick hard surface tool sets. And then using that with stuff like live boolean at the same time, you can get some pretty sweet results. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the images that they've been posting up on ZBrush Central. I think like I don't know if they're still posting new updated images, but for a while there they were posting like a new image every single hour. Folders in live boolean with the rendering filters. Yeah, the ability to do live booleans right within the filter, so it's not like creating a new tool. Very nice as well. This guy's getting a little too eggy, isn't he? Let's clean up some of this here. Kind of square off the head a little bit more, and the chest. Let's get this guy to be a little bit more boxy. We don't need a complete egg tiger. It's a little silly. And I think for the geometry below this point, I'm going to delete it because it's never going to be seen. It's all just kind of tucked in there and hidden. So let's just get rid of that so we don't have too much excess garbage floating around. Creating oil paintings. Yeah, I want to play around with that a little bit more for sure. Tomorrow at noon Pacific, be able to play around with it, get your download on. All right, let's see here. Let's do a quick little dynamish, and so if we follow this line of the nose here out, you can see where that hit is, where that surface is starting to turn. So I've done a quick slice there so that I can essentially know where that surface is turning. Start to pull that up a little bit, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit there as well. But what I want to do is actually, now that I've sliced that, essentially what I'm telling ZBrush by Z-remeshing with keep groups on is that I want ZBrush to put in an edge loop along that area where I put that cut in. So this is my way of just quickly figuring out where a surface turn is and then creating geometry that will actually conform to that a little bit better. So this is actually a little dense for this since it's such a simplistic shape. So I'm just going to lower that a little bit more. Let's see, make rotoscoping great again. I don't know about that. Let's see. Rewrites the theory. What came first, the tiger or the egg? These are the questions that keep me up at night. Alright, so I'm going to pull this edge out, make that a little bit wider. So it looks a little silly right now, alright? But if we come in here and delete a couple edge loops. Oh, come back please. Starting to get a little bit closer to that shape. Remember when I said I just want the most simple form kind of representing that? This is an example of that. Alright, so we come up, got that first hit, and then up here, kind of just tapers into a point with like a little bit of a flat up there. So if we can, let's just scale that in. Maybe pull that up a little. And then we can just kind of flatten that up top. Actually, let's kind of slide this back a little. Maybe pull up. And I think it's a little tall right now, but let's actually just leave it, and then we'll make some more adjustments to some other things. I don't like to work on one thing too long, because what ends up happening is I end up looking at something. Is that like not applying my color? There we go. I end up looking at something too long, and I just get used to the way it looks, and I'm not able to recognize certain errors or differences between a reference and my sculpt quite as well. So that's why it's always recommended, you know, to take some breaks every once in a while. But I try to do that intermittently while I'm actually sculpting. So I might work on the head for a little bit, just the basic shape of that, and then I might take a break and work on the nose, or take a break and work on the feet or jacket, and just try to jump around a little bit. So I try to spend, you know, like on average, I would say probably about, I don't know, 15 minutes in one specific area at a time, and just jump around from there. I'm not trying to work on any one thing too long, but I find that to be very helpful. So I'm noticing that that tapers up there. It gets really small up there near his eyes. So let's like scale this in just a bit more. Pull that down. And if we look at this line, I think we need some more volume here coming from this outside corner. I'm going to use the Move brush with AccuCurve, allowing me to pull out some sharp points of geometry. And let's see, let's follow this line back up here to about where the eye is. I think we just need some more volume there. So it's important to rotate around a lot while you're sculpting, so you can see stuff from a lot of different angles. I'm noticing that I'm not getting enough volume there, so I was trying to rotate around and see if my mesh was dipping in. Turned out that it was, so kind of just noticed that from the front view. Tried to find an angle where it was a little bit more visibly present so that I could fix it. But we're starting to get there, slowly but surely. It's all just a matter of time, right? We'll get there eventually. What is the best way to make alphas? Well, with the new additions to Spotlight, you can actually create alphas here in ZBrush. There is even a method that you can create an alpha from a piece of geometry. And I believe you can actually convert alphas to geometry with the current version as well. I think you can use the To Mesh button. But let me see here. So from Mesh, so it's allowing me to have this piece of geometry that I can move and rotate around and actually create an alpha from. So I can, you know, move this around, or I can even have something a little bit more complex. I could load in something else. You can adjust the resolution here and then create that alpha for you. So you can actually do that with the current version of ZBrush. I believe that was introduced in 2018, although I can't remember off of the top of my head. But yeah, there's a bunch of really cool ways to create alphas. I mean, you could do it in Photoshop, just paint it out in there. Use like the polygon lasso tool. I mean, there's all sorts of options. I don't think there's probably a best way to do it. Probably just depends on what you're most comfortable with and what kind of shape you're trying to create. But really, if you just get like a few primitive shapes with the Spotlight tool, and I know that there are some Spotlight primitives that they're going to be shipping with ZBrush 2019. So stuff like a circle, square, hex, a couple other things that you can use and combine to make more alphas and all sorts of crazy cool stuff. But I'm sure you guys will get in tomorrow, get your hands dirty, and get lots of experience with it. It's looking a little messy and dirty down there, but you know what? Let's not worry about it. Let's just continue on here. Let's create some quick ears, because those are some pretty funky shaped ears. I actually have wanted to create a base mesh to represent that type of ear. It's similar to what you would see, at least this shape. I don't think actual tiger ears are shaped as conically or more like a cone as those are. They kind of more represent what you'd see in deer and that kind of family. What is the family of deer called? Daedra or something like that? I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But that's more so what those ears look like. So I think what I'm going to do here is use a cylinder. So just a simple cylinder shape. And I have an idea that might just be crazy enough to work. I'll put it over on the other side because I can see the other ear a little bit better here. And what I'm going to do is scale the bottom of this. So I just want to fit the basic shape there a little bit better. Let's see. Match the angle a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. And then I'm going to subdivide this. And then let's add in some masking. I can probably get a decent base with my mask lasso to start out with. And essentially what I want to do is mask off a bunch of this. And you'll see what I'm going to do here in a second. I'm going to use extraction, but not actually using the extraction menu in ZBrush. I'm going to manually do it because I find that I get a little bit more control out of it. You'll see here in just a moment what I'm talking about. Alright, so this kind of wraps up, goes down to here, and then turns in. And this doesn't have to be perfect, or even really that clean by any means. You'll see why here in just a moment. So just a real basic shape. And you know what, we'll say that's good enough. So I'm just gonna press Control, let me fix this one area. I'm just gonna press Control W, it'll make a new poly group, and I'll just select this geometry and click Delete Hidden. So we're starting to get that kind of basic shape there. We're getting there. And then from here, you know what, let me change the angle that this one curve is headed here. So let me just do a quick one of these. All right. Something like that. So this edge is pretty messy, and that makes things really difficult for a number of reasons. So what I'm going to do to clean that up is just click on Edge Loop Group Loops once, and it might not look like it cleaned up too much, but for our purposes here, it'll be good enough. And then I'm just gonna Z-remesh this. So this is a flat piece of geometry. It doesn't have any thickness right now. And what that will allow us to do, hopefully, I might need to clean up this bottom edge. I did a really poor job of selecting those polys. We'll see what this gives us real quick. Oof, that was pretty bad, wasn't it? It's okay. I'll fix it real quick. Let's see. Love the progression of images Pixelogic gave on Twitter. Character blockout, puppy shark, and now a shoe. Well, that's because it's just like an announcement for what I'm going to be streaming next. So it's not actually what I'm working on. The shoe is what I did last week. So for those that didn't see, you can go up on the Pixelogic YouTube channel and check out what I did last week, which happen to be, let's see, where'd it go? Where'd I save this boot? Boot, here he is. We'll import him real quick. Well, bam. Oh, and he had some poly paint color on here that I don't have any longer. Here's the boot with some quick poly paint. We looked at a lot of different stuff during this tutorial, so if you're interested in learning about live booleans, because you know we have a lot of new stuff coming out with live booleans, I think that video would be great. I did stuff with insert meshes, ZRemesh, Dynamesh, live booleans, like I said, a whole bunch of stuff. The ZModeler brush, there's a lot of stuff. Extractions, yeah, a bunch. So if you're interested in any of those things, I think that would probably be a good video to check out. But yes, that is what I worked on last week's stream. So we don't have 3D on what I'm going to work on. Plus, they were very busy with the 2019 announcement. So lots of stuff going on there. All right, we'll clean this up because I did a very bad job of making a quick selection, even though it's just supposed to be a quick selection. And I'll try to fix this really quick. Oh, you know what? Here. I don't know if I had any polygroups on that. I don't think I did, but we'll do this real quick. Kira, what's up? How you doing? A lonely shoe. That's right. Servidier. That's right. Thank you. Because thanks, Google. What did I say? Diadre? I think that's a thing from Oblivion. I think that's the name of like the demon race of characters, the Diadre or something like that. Oh man, this is not wanting to cooperate. I just needed something really quick and simple. And I've failed you all. I apologize. Here. Because I'm lazy and I don't want to actually fix this. I'll do it the cheat way. I should change my stream titles to how to cheat ZBrush with Follygon, because I feel like everything that I do, I'm like, no, that's gonna take too much time. Let's do it this way. This is way faster. Here we go. All right, that'll do. That'll do for now. So essentially, what I've done here is I created a cone, and then I made some mask around it so that I could cut up the geometry and very quickly just create this thin, or not even thin, lacking thickness piece of geometry. And essentially we want to turn this into something that we can use for our ear. We might want to spend some time like reshaping this before we give it some thickness. But there are lots of different ways to add thickness to stuff in ZBrush. The way that I like to do it, though, is I like to use the ZModeler brush and hover over a face with your mouse, hold the space bar, extrude all polygons. Very simple little function. Again, that's the ZModeler brush, extrude all polygons, then just click and drag that out a little bit. And then with a quick smooth, you can see that we've started to get the shape, or basic shape at least, of our ear here. And what's cool about this is that we also get some different polygroups for selecting. So for instance, if I'm wanting to colorize this outside part of the ear to be a little bit more dark, I can select this polygroup and fill in the color on that. And then on the inside of the ear, if I can invert my selection, there we go. We'll select the inside of the ear and then fill that in. And just like that. Ooh, you know what? We got that little middle edge. We'll select this one. We'll make this all the same. There we go. So now we've started to block out a very simple ear shape. We can start playing with that, but I think that'll do for now. It could maybe be a little larger, I think, but other than that, I say we move on to some more stuff. Like our face. Some stuff on the nose here. Can play around with. There's a bunch of stuff that we can play around with here for our egg-shaped tiger. we should probably do some more stuff with the larger form of the body before we start worrying about a ton of details in the face. So I say we do this quick little nose next, and then maybe take a look at the jacket and just the body in general. Can you use Maya or 3ds? I prefer Maya. I've actually been using Maya longer than ZBrush, but ZBrush is my main app that I use in terms of 3D software. Color Click, what's up? Welcome. How you doing? Is that Blender? Sure is not. ZBrush, right up here. And I probably says it somewhere down below as well. Probably in a few different places. Alright. What do I want to do with the major shape of this jaw? So we got this like dip coming up here. Let's do a quick little fix here. And just rotate some of that in. I don't want that, whoa. Let me turn off RGB. By default, the Move brush will have RGB on. I'm not a huge fan of that. I thought I did something to turn that off forever, but I guess I didn't do it very well. I recommend turning that off though if you're working on stuff with polypaint, because you might have a different color selected and then use your Move brush and mess up something that you're working on. Especially if you're using subdivision levels, any brush that has RGB on by default, or even if you've toggled it on, of course, will get some material errors on your geometry. And I might be able to show you what I mean here. I'm not sure if I have anything that has that right now. It doesn't look like I do, so I'll say it's fine for now. If something comes up though, I'll point it out. Alright, let's get this nose very quickly here. It's a pretty simple shape. It's essentially just a cube that's shoved in there, so let me show you what I mean. This is what I'm talking about a lot of the time when I say we gotta break stuff down into its most simple form. So let's grab a cube and move them up here where our nose is. So it's essentially a cube that has been just rotated 45 degrees. And I think you're probably starting to see the shape here. So let's I'm gonna do a little trick here. Ooh, it didn't do it the right way. I was trying to be a little cheeky there, trying to make ZBrush triangulate just this mesh really fast, but it did it the wrong way. So what I'll do, actually, I'll force it to do what I want. Using the Z modeler brush, I'm just gonna delete that polygon, and then I'm gonna use the bridge function to bridge between two edges. And you can see what that looks like here. So I've just added some additional form here, and I've done that so that the mesh will retain that crease there in the middle. But we'll sit here and play with this shape a little bit. And try to get something a little bit closer to the nose that I'm seeing here. Probably want to make that, and this will happen as you start to put in more parts of your geometry, and this is why I recommend doing that really early, trying to get all the stuff in there as quick as you can. You'll start to notice as you put more stuff in that other things that you've created in the past aren't lining up exactly the way you want them to, so you'll probably have to go back and make a few changes as you add more stuff. And the same thing will happen as you start working your way up into secondary and more complex form with your sculpt. Let's see here. And we'll just kind of pull back on you. It looks like this point is just flowing all the way back there, so I think instead what I'll do is probably blend that into the nose. Let's see here. And that angle is pointed down a little bit. It's a little bit more rounded on top as well. So let's do a couple subdivision levels here with the smooth modifier off. Essentially what that does is it keeps your mesh from beveling around the edges. So I can still work with that, but just the way the geometry is subdivided, with that off, it will retain that exact shape without going through and smoothing out your geometry. All right, so how do I want to do this little nose here? I probably just want to append a quick little piece right here. Let me see. So essentially I want this flat part of the nose to start blending into this shape. So I know we lost those really hard edges, but in all honesty, we're not going to need a super hard edge for this. I just want this to blend and flow all the way back. We'll work on cleaning this up here in a moment. But let's actually look at this part of the mouth. And I think we might want to flatten some of this. Getting a little too round right here. So I'm using the trim dynamic brush to just kind of push that, plane it out a little bit more. And keep this really messy here while I try to figure out the shape a little bit better. And try to fix the mess of geometry that I've created here, just so it's a little easier to work by giving it some thickness. I use Dynamesh. I can't use the ZModeler tool. Well, you might be thinking of ZRemesher, I'm not sure. But the ZModeler tool is really, really easy to use. There's a bunch of different functions in it, and I think that's why it's a little intimidating. So like you come in here and you see all this and you're a little overwhelmed. But in truth, I use like 10% of the options that are in here. And most of them have to do with just edge loop manipulation, deleting edge loops and beveling edge loops. There's really not a ton of options in there that I use a lot. A lot of them are very case specific. If you are interested in learning how to use the ZModeler brush though, I have an awesome free tutorial over on my YouTube channel, which I think there's a link at the top of the screen. It's just YouTube/Follygon, but I'll share it here in chat for you. I think it's about a few hours long, hard surface tutorial. Almost 3 hours long. I essentially go through using, we create this clock in that time. Essentially, put a pop. Boom, let me grab this here. I'll grab the link without a timestamp so it doesn't shoot you forward like it was doing for me. But essentially, we go through, create that whole clock, and use the ZModeler brush the whole way through. So if you are interested in checking that out, or if anybody else is, I get asked about the ZModeler brush lately more than anything else. So I'm glad that I did that. Like the past couple streams that I've done, I think I've shouted out that video. So if you guys are interested, like I said, ZModeler brush, or just for hard surface stuff in ZBrush in general, I do a ton of other tools other than just the ZModeler brush in that video. So check it out if that's something that interests you. Well, other than that, we need to kind of blend the roundness of the top of this nose into this tighter area without losing that shape too much. We're getting there. It's starting to feel a bit better, slowly but surely. I think it's a little high res, a little too high res, I should say. Let's simplify that even more. It's starting to feel pretty good now. I'll just apply a different color here so that I can see this a little better for what that looks like. And we'll fix some colors and blending up here a little later. For now, I think it's fine. Keep it a little different. All right, so let's leave that alone for a little bit. Let me just do a quick little smooth pass here. And let's look at our body. So we're gonna try to get away from the egg shape that we have right now and try to get a little bit, I know guys, I'm sorry, no more tiger egg. We're gonna try to get away from that. Try to get a little bit closer to the hit and break that we're seeing going on there. So let's just look at our body real quick. And I'm gonna do the same thing that I did up here with the Z modeler brush to delete some edge loops and get that turn up there to be a little bit tighter. And in all honesty, I could probably flatten out the top of his head a little bit too. I think that makes a little bit more sense. Gets a little bit closer to what I'm seeing going on there. So let's try to get this body closer, again using that Z modeler brush. So it looks like that is, if I were to bisect that shape in half, it's about halfway where at least this hit is, maybe a little bit taller. So let's delete some edge loops. I tried to follow that one, but got stuck in the first few minutes because ZBrush would do something you did. All right, I think you mean wouldn't do something that I did. Well, let me know. I'm always open for questions. Don't be scared. Feel free to leave a comment or ask away right now. I'd be happy to help if I can. That's why I make the videos. Let's see. So we want out and then in. So let me get this edge loop back. Actually, let me show you guys a cool trick. So let's say you want to add in an edge loop with the Z modeler brush. You could insert a poly loop like that. Or another cool way that I like to do it, I like to use the slice curve brush and just draw out my line like so. And it'll slice the geometry in half, but in truth, you know, what a slice essentially is it's actually a poly loop or an edge loop, which is what we have now. So we got a pretty nice clean edge loop through there that we can now play with and scale down a bit. I think I'll just pull in on the edges and pull in on the outside edges as well, because I think this guy needs to taper down a little bit faster than what we have going on right now. Probably pull in on these legs a bit more, something like that, and we'll just move our feet too. Alright, so now when we smooth that out, we get these really soft curves, so that's why I'm going to bevel these edges. Bevel edge loop complete. Do a nice tight bevel through there. Now we're starting to get something. So now we're starting to get some harder hits around those areas. I think I'll just use my move brush. We'll turn symmetry back on. And with my move brush, just kind of push and pull and start manipulating this shape a little bit closer to what I'm seeing in our reference. And I want to flatten this guy quite a bit more on the backside because he's way too rounded. Try to get a little bit more straight. So let's do that next. Since we're working on the body, might as well. Let's see. Highburn, welcome. Highburn asks, do you have any suggestions as per anatomy? I'd worked myself into a corner, tried to power through it, but I couldn't when it came time for Marvelous Designer. I'm now trying to correct the issue in terms of the anatomy, but I'm no expert. Any reference suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Well, you know, I don't have any suggestions or recommendations for reference other than using real humans as much as you can. I think a lot of the time, unless you really know what you're doing, I would say try not to copy what other artists do. But in terms of studying anatomy, I typically recommend just not trying to bulk study a lot. I typically find that pretty useless, and Not a great way to study because you don't really get too much that's actionable off of that. So what ends up happening is you know, kind of binge as much information as you can in that kind of situation. And then when it comes time to apply it, it's been so long since you've used it, or you've just kind of taken in too much at once, and it kind of proves not very useful at that point. So what I recommend doing, and what I have found pretty useful and helpful for myself, is instead to, one, obviously practice a crap ton, really get your mileage up, which is the most important thing, but also what I do when I'm studying anatomy is, instead of trying to like do what I just mentioned, study a lot, a bunch of different ideas and concepts, instead try sculpting something that you could maybe objectively reference against an anatomical truth. Like, let's say if you want to practice sculpting hands, you have a really good reference probably right in front of you. So you can use that as a reference, and for like other stuff that you probably can't reference on your own body quite as well, I recommend sculpt with the information and references that you already have, and don't do any studying until you get to a point where something isn't objectively lining up with how it should look, or you're starting to feel a little confused or in the dark about working on another area. So what that looks like is you're sculpting, you're working on the shoulder girdle area, and you start getting to a point where it's looking a little wonky, and you're like, you know what, I actually don't know how this area works that well. So then you should probably take some time to, you know, obviously reassess your reference, but maybe take some time off from actually sculpting and do some studying. So I find that a lot more efficient, a lot more effective in terms of kind of creating or converting information from, you know, just using a reference into something that could actually stick in your brain. Because you're going to study it, and then you're going to immediately go do it and practice it. So I find that to be kind of the best method for tackling that stuff. But like you mentioned, in terms of references, I don't have any like super amazing references. I think scans can be really helpful if you can find some resources for scans. It's always nice. But yeah, I mean, to each their own, right? I like using real humans for a lot of stuff. I mean, even when I'm working on something like this, you know, anatomy knowledge, you know, this guy's pretty crazy, but anatomy knowledge can still be really helpful when you're trying to figure out, like I just mentioned, the shoulder girdle. If I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to connect these arms up into this body. So something like that might be helpful in this. He's so rounded and kind of derpy that maybe not quite as useful as it would be on some other characters. But yeah, I still find that stuff very helpful, very useful. But hopefully that was helpful. I don't know. You can let me know. I think our legs are a little bit shorter. The perspective's kind of messing with my head a little here. What's going on there? Let's just play with that a little. From what I can tell, I think this angle is actually his legs kind of coming forward a bit. So what I'm gonna do, let's see, let's kind of like push this back. I'm just gonna use my move brush. Move brush, back face masking, and really pull that in. Get this thick boy thickened up. And gonna slide these up a little bit. All right, so from the profile, I think that's starting to feel a lot better on the backside. I probably want to start blending these legs into this body so that I can start working on making that feel a little bit better for this connective point. And we could do that now, or we can work on some other stuff. Really, my time is your guys' time tonight. So whatever we want to work on, or whatever questions we have, I'm down for anything. Trying to make this arm a little shorter. I think I over-exaggerated that distance with the arm there. And just a very simple simple shape for this hand right now. It looks like he only has a few fingers, 3 fingers and a thumb from what I can tell. I really don't like giving my characters less fingers because I think a lot of the time it looks really weird. So we'll probably avoid that. I don't know, maybe next stream we can work on something a little bit different. I think it's fun though that we're experimenting, getting a chance to experiment with color here. Sculpting with color the whole way through. It's not something that I do a lot. I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning of the stream. It's fun to play around this way. I think it's just nice to be able to visualize this with color. Alright, so very quick combination. Let's see here. So this crease kind of flows up from the crotch, and then it starts blending about here, it looks like. Whoa, doggy. My neighbor's dog is very upset. So I'm gonna guess that kind of mirrors the backside as well, so we'll just kind of sketch that in right there. Let me do a quick Dynamesh. Step away. Try to learn some anatomy instead of trying to power through. Thanks for the reminder. Keep it simple, stupid. That's right. KISS. Kiss. Yeah, I just find, you know, if you're getting to a point where you don't understand an area or the form that you're trying to create, that's a good place to just step back and take a minute, reassess, try to figure out what's going on. Maybe get some more outside opinions, and then go from there. Because, I mean, the truth is, if you don't know how to make something, you're not going to be able to, you're probably not going to be able to make it well. You do, I think, get to a point, though, where you just get a lot better at sculpting stuff based on sight, which is why I sculpt as much as I can from scratch, because it really works on your ability to see. So I find that to be a good exercise for that. Like right now, on this guy, I need to line up the pants with the jacket a little bit better in the side silhouette. I need to start playing with the angle of this a little bit more as well. Trying to just line up some of this stuff. But really, I'm not super concerned about that kind of stuff right now. I'm more so concerned about just making all this feel really nice and integrated at a low level. And then we can start getting a little bit more clean later on. Have you tested ZBrush 2019? I have. I've had quite a bit of time playing around with it. Some of you might have actually seen some of my images that have been rotating around on the ZBrush Central forum. For those who have not seen, I don't know if they're still up. Probably. I'm gonna guess yes, right? Yeah, so they've been rotating different images over on ZBrush Central every hour. It looks like they're doing it every 15 minutes now. But yes, I had some stuff up there earlier. And they're going to be doing I'm sure, a big post later on, and I'll be sharing some of the stuff that I did in it as well. Time to sculpt some hands. Hands are tough. I do not enjoy sculpting hands at all. I've sculpted way too many hands. And at the same time, I have not sculpted enough hands. It's a dilemma, for sure. Excited to try out the NPR stuff? Yes, you should be. It is. There's some really cool stuff that you can do in there. And you guys are getting some fun stuff to play around with, that's for sure. think this bevel is a little too tight. So by moving edge loops away from each other, essentially what you're doing is softening what that form will look like once it is subdivided or smoothed. So that's what I'm attempting to do right now. Just to get a little bit more taper around the torso. And I essentially want this guy from the profile looking like he's kind of poofing out his chest a little bit more. Right now he feels pretty forward heavy, pretty top heavy, but we'll be fixing that here in a little bit as we continue on. Also, if you find that you're sculpting on something that's a little bit dark, it's nice and simple to go back. Just work on a sculptural material if you need to. So just toggle off all my poly paint. Take a quick look here at blending some of this. So just do a quick little blend pass here. Just using some really quick clay tubes, trim dynamic, trying to fix some of the silhouette here. Some move brush. Nothing too crazy. And matte cut brush to clean up this crease. So I think I want this to be a bit more flat coming down. So straight down and then turn. And in the back side, I think I'm going to just make that a little bit more straight all the way up through. A little more junk in the trunk here, wrapping up and around. Alright, let's get in there, let's get in there. Let's go into Transpose Master very quickly. Show you guys a cool little thing here for those that don't use it. Z plugin, Transpose Master, T-Pose Mesh. Essentially take all of our geometry, put it in one subtool for us to play around with. I'm going to use this with a big old move brush. And just start to make some large scale changes here to the body. Not what I meant to do, but I think it worked out for a selection. I'm trying to get him puffed up a bit more, pushed forward, poof out that chest. I have a profile pic of this guy, side view, profile pic. Oh, how that term has been changed. But it works, it works. You guys knew what I meant. Alright, so some quick additional changes here. I think the distance here is going to change once I split that form for the hood. And honestly, we don't really need to split it. We just need to pull down on like one vertex here. And that actually gets the job done. So hey, that was pretty easy. Alright. Let's maybe make this dude a bit wider. If we really wanted to, what we could do is take our image with our spotlight tool and overlay it, turn down opacity. Let's see here. There's some perspective going on with this image. So I don't think we'll have or want to match this perfectly. Let's take a look here. Let's line up our head. So we actually, and there's some problems with this being unsymmetrical here. So we actually have the head shape pretty close if we were to rotate this. So it's actually pretty close, minus the non-symmetrical nature of it. But let's see, what changes do we want to make here? I did think that the legs were a little bit long earlier. I think we just need to shorten them a little bit more, which is pretty easy to do. I think there's, like I said, some perspective stuff going on here, so we'll just do it a little bit and maybe make those legs a little bit wider. But we're matching the silhouette here fairly well. Let's see, let's get rid of our arms really quick. Maybe just kind of poof this out a little bit more here. Doesn't have to be exact, but yeah, down here in the legs, let's see. Right about here, I would say, is where that stops tapering. Ooh. Try that again. So I actually want that to be wider. It's an easier way to do this, but not while I'm in Transpose Master. I'll clean that up once we get out. Alright, so that's matching a little bit more closely with that one leg, but like I said, asymmetry and everything else being in the way, it's not going to be very conducive for making those types of changes. All right, so let's grab our little tiger image. So I think we're pretty close. There were only like a few little things that we wanted to change, and luckily they were very, very easy to do. So here's our kind of basic shape. Let's T-pose this back. Again, this is up in Z plugin, Transpose Master. Now we get to see all those changes occur. So we push and pull and apply those to all of our subtools here. Very quickly, let me just fix a couple materials. Whoops, wrong color. Awesome. Yes, I have heard of line of action. I've been there before. I believe that you can set it to a timer to pull up different reference images if you're attempting to do some quick gestural drawings. I wouldn't really recommend it for anatomical study though. There might be some good high-resolution images in there. I don't know, but I think a lot of that's used more for gestural stuff. Hence why it's called line of action. Let's see. Seems cool to make creative stuff and then animate them with Maya. Yes, a lot of people animate with Maya. I think Maya has some of the best animation tools in the industry. Love me some Maya. Alright, I'm gonna delete the caps on this because I no longer need them, but instead would prefer to have some thickness at this point. So let's give him some thickness. Give our thick tiger boy some thickness. He is feeling extra thick. Alright, for this middle edge loop, I think I would like to try beveling this, because I think what's going to happen here, I think this will work. I need, so I need this vert to be, or that point to be a little tighter. I'm just going to bevel that. I need that to be a little tighter. I could do some stuff with some creases right now. There's a lot of options for this. Let's try beveling it. Let's keep that bevel. And for this central area where it's getting a little bit tighter, I'll actually just smooth that out very quickly. Or we could, you know, manually separate these verts if you want to keep them from feeling too tight. I mean, but I do stuff the lazy quick way a lot of the time, which I pointed out earlier. Plus, we don't really want a ton of form change in the front here. I think most of that's going to be fairly straightforward. All right, let me delete that really quick. And let's fix a couple things up here. I really like that blue. It's a very nice blue. I'll have to use that more. Save it. Need a color swatch. Speaking of, I hear talk of a new plugin. You know what? There was actually a few, 2 or 3 plugins that they released recently that you could play around with, and I believe the color swatch plugin was one of them. Can't remember off the top of my head though. I just don't think that they made it an official release yet. Ooh, no, not bridge. Bevel, sorry. Wrong op. There we go. Some quick little bevels. We're starting to get there. This is starting to feel a little bit better. Hey. Starting to get there. Looking awesome. Well, thank you, Andy. That's very nice of you, man. Appreciate it. Mavi Skies, welcome. How you doing? The color palette thing. Yes, I can't remember the name of the Z plugin. It is a Z plugin. I know it is. Do I have it installed? I don't think I have it installed right now. Oh, do I? No, sorry. Saw something else. The mask plugin looks nice, yes. So there are like little tricks that you can do to do what that plugin does, but they've made it a lot easier with that plugin, like a million times easier. That plugin is going to be really cool. Intersection Master, I believe, is what they've coined it. But yes, that will be a fun one to play around with. It's going to be a bunch of fun little things to play around with tomorrow. Don't forget, set your alarms, kiddos. Tomorrow at noon Pacific. Oh man. And well, actually, so to be clear, March 6th at noon Pacific. So for those that are already, you know, ahead of me in a different time zone, March 6th at noon Pacific. Just so we're a little bit more, so that we're a little bit more Pacific. Pacific. You know what I mean. Alright, I'm gonna cut up some pantaloons here. Not because I want to add thickness to these, but I might. But more so because I want a zeri mesh that's gonna be extra clean along some of these edges. Now I'm probably gonna lose some of the creasing that I have down in this area, and I think I would like to keep that. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this so that I can project some of that information after I remesh this. I'm gonna do a quick test on a zeri mesh, very low. And if that ends up breaking, which for this, we're kind of pushing it, so we'll see. Some of this stuff might not come through the way I want it to. Such as that. Let me up-res that just a little. Really excited about the flat shader button because I like to do hand-painted textures and it's hard to paint when there are all those cast shadows everywhere. Awesome. But yeah, I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of fun playing around with that for sure. Oh, what have you done here? What is this edge loop? Alright, like I said, we would test it out a little low, but we're getting some crappy edge loops around the top there, which is the one thing that it's the entire reason why I sliced that in half. Or sliced that top cap off. Here we go, that's much better. That's so hard. Alright, so we're retaining that form transition fairly well there. It's actually not that bad. What I would like to do though is delete edge loop around here. Let's pull this out. Try to match the silhouette a little bit more closely. Alright. I will not be projecting that, because that's actually retaining my form pretty well. Alright, let's see. Let's append, or apply, not append, apply some colors. And how about we could add some thickness. Typically for geometry, I really don't like to add thickness. I like to add the illusion of thickness because thickness typically is very difficult to sculpt with. It just causes a lot of problems. So I think instead what I'll do instead of that, now that I have this clean topology, is ruin it by adding in some disgusting little closed holes up here. So we'll do that very quickly. And I'll do some creases as well. And I can keep these poly groups, so if I want to add, I can continue sculpting on this, and then if I want to delete the caps and add thickness later, that'll be really easy to do. But first, let's add in a couple quick creases with my crease button. Cool. All right. We're getting there. We're getting there with our pantaloons. Some more tweaking here needs to happen. They're actually kind of draping over the feet in the back, which is a fun little effect. We haven't really done too much with our feet because I don't really want to, because feet are never looked at. Neither are hands, really, if I'm being honest. But hands are very important. Gotta spend a lot of time on them. I just want to push this out of the way for now a little bit. Just very quickly. Alright. Let's see. Well, we've actually gotten pretty far on this in just a short amount of time. I don't know, I think maybe in the future I'll try sculpting with color from the beginning a little more often. I think it's pretty fun. Oh no, didn't have symmetry on there. Oh, come on, play nice. Make sure my topology didn't screw up too much there. I think we're good. Turn symmetry back on. And go away, arms. Let's get a nice curve here, flowing all the way around. Ooh, a little bit too much. Looking a little bit better. Make sure our booty is tucked up in there nicely. Don't want that hanging out. That's gross. Alright. I say we go back up to our face and maybe look at some eyes or a couple other things here with the nose, or just general form changes, or even some more poly paint. Got some cool stuff up there. Jacob, great soundtrack. Well, thank you. It's all by Pop Sky, Popskyy. Just some really nice music to work to. He's a really cool dude. He also streams from time to time over on his channel. He's got some really nice music. The dude does not have a single bad track. Alright, I think this hood needs to be a lot more thin. We also need to stretch it all the way up here to the front. So it needs to connect up there. Ooh, that's getting real messy. He needs the pants that say juicy on the butt. Oh my god. Yes. Yes times a million. You know what? Very quick. Because this is important. In your Z plugin, text 3D vector shapes. Let's see, we want some new text. What font do we want? Somebody find out what that font is. Juicy. Or you know what? We can make it say eggy. Juicy's pretty good, right? Or just... I think, if I'm not mistaken here, you can actually change the font on the fly. You can. I don't want to just Google juicy pants while I'm streaming for fear of what will pop up in Google Images. But, let's see. Definitely not impact. Could get some nice Microsoft Word. Or old school, get that Times New Roman. Roboto. I can't remember what Roboto is. I used to use that for a bunch of stuff. Oh no. Keep on moving my mouse off of this. There we go. Alright, that works. We got our juicy, right? Alright, we'll do it real quick. Juicy pants. Let's see what we can find. What's the font look like? It's a serif font. Or a weirdly serif font. Or I think this is... I know that's the same font. Juicy pant font. Let's see. Who's done the research? Juicy Couture font. Defont.com. Is this an actual font that we can download? I don't know, I think this is something else. Alright, it doesn't matter. As long as it says juicy, that's the important part. Alright, so we got this. Now what? If we had that intersection masking tool, we could really align that nice and neat. I think what I'm just gonna do is very quickly just place it on the butt for now, though. Doing the Lord's work here. A very good rotate, was it? It's okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now we got it. Yeah, or you know what? On the sweatshirt we should have thick. Triple C thick. Oh, should we go all caps with this font? Is it too late? Juicy. I think this will re-put it back at the center of the world axis. Let's see, do we like that more? Do we want to go with a serif font? Does anybody have a good serif font while we're here? This is very important to the sculptural process. Is Times New Roman? Is that a serif font? That's an ugly serif font. Varsity? Do I have Varsity? That's the question. No, Verdana. It's the closest I got in terms of V fonts. Old London. Oh, you guys doing your research. Oh, I don't have that one either. Yeah, these are probably very specific fonts. It's got to be all caps. I'm working on it, all right? Varsity. Well, what's another... I don't know serif fonts off the top of my head. I think the Juicy Roboto was working pretty well, though. So I think we'll just stick with that, guys. Look. Like I said, this is really important. I know we just spent 10 minutes making his butt say Juicy on it, but really, didn't we all learn something here today? There's a very important lesson in here. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because then you wouldn't have learned anything. Juicy. Oh boy. Now we could use something like the matchmaker brush, or you know, a bunch of different stuff to really get this perfect. But we've got time for that. Just juicy, beautiful. That font looks terrible with all caps like that, but it's okay. We'll make it work. Wingdings. All right, wingdings it is here. And then up front, triple C thick, right? I mean, this is the important one. For this one, we'll go lowercase for the thick. And this is, like I said, the most important thing that we could be spending our time on right now. Now we all know that triple C thick is as thick as you can go. You can't go more thick than that. Quadruple C, it's unheard of. You know what is cool though? We could use like a bend curve deformer here or something to realign this a little bit better. There's a lot of cool little deformation tricks. You can also cheat a little bit. The transpose line if you're lazy. Because who's got time to get stuff perfect? Especially when it's, you know, not gonna stay there very long, probably. Oh yeah, okay, now this is going somewhere. You know, at first I was like, this character's pretty cool, but now, you guys have convinced me. This is my next passion project. And his name is Thick Juicy. Yeah, that's a good name. That's a good name, alright. Alright, let's maybe do some like eyes or something. We don't have too much time left because someone will be streaming here shortly after me. So let's get in here and try to work on something fun. Maybe answer some questions if we can. Last time you used the matchmaker brush, you got some weird issues where the mesh was matching, kept going through the mesh it was being matched to. So you gotta make sure that you only have that subtool visible if you want to get some really good interactions out of that. I don't really like the matchmaker brush too much because I find it a little difficult to work with. Mainly because of subtool stuff, like I just mentioned. That can be one of the common issues. You might want to try that. But yeah, it's a really powerful tool if you can get it to work well. Same thing with like the topology brush. I really like that brush. I think it's really cool. It's just a little heavy-handed to work with a lot of the time. But essentially it's like a quad draw tool saw somebody during the live stream mentioning some like a Maya quad draw-esque tool. I was like, that kind of already exists. It's called the topology brush. Trying to fix this hood up. I think it gets a little too thick towards the back. We also need to like carve in so it has that flow there for the edge, and then it actually has a hood in the back. So let's try that next. Oh no. I hate when that happens. It's just a random error that I get with the lazy mouse from time to time. Not a fun one, but a pretty easy one to fix. This is ood, or good. Well, thanks, Kana. Appreciate it. Pretty simple right now, isn't he? Just all basic primitive shapes. Thick, juicy, though. That's what's... Here, we need that screenshotted up front so everybody can know what this stream's all about. Alright, I think it would make more sense to delete some of this, potentially, but let's just start off by like carving. Think about deleting later. So this needs to come in a lot. Yeah, you know what? I won't delete this. It'll make more sense here in a moment. I'm just gonna pull this in and match fairly closely to the body there, or the neck. It doesn't really have much of a neck, really. It's more of just a giant tube. And then from there, we'll carve in and make the actual divot for the hood. I can use the same brush that I just did. Sharp Soft brush. My custom brush. One of my favorites. It's a really nice one. Similar to a dam standard, but it's kind of between a standard brush and a dam standard. It's a little bit softer. I use it a lot for sculpting hair texture. You can get some really, whoops. You can get some really cool effects out of it. You do like a nice, clean, soft transition between folds. I use it a lot for folds. I mean, I use it for everything. I use all my brushes for everything. I don't really have too many brushes that I use. But what brushes I do have, I use a lot. Let's see, let's go a little deeper here. Try to use a bigger brush. Oops. Yeah, let's just get a little messy. So this is what I'm talking about when I was saying it's too thick back here. So I think this will work for transitioning up here a little bit better, but in that back area, I'm gonna run into quite a few issues. So to alleviate that, let me do a quick mask. The tail! That's right. We forgot the tail. We can do a tail. That's pretty easy. What's the hotkey for sharpening a mask? hold Control and Alt, and click. So here's a blurred mask. Hold Control, Alt, and click on your mesh. It'll sharpen the mask. But there is no default, just like quick little press hotkey. Or you can go down in your masking and click on Sharpen Mask. Blur and Sharpen Mask. Might be easier if you add those to your UI. The control clicking for blurring a mask is actually a little bit different than clicking the blur mask button. If anybody uses that, I can show you why. Ooh, we are getting very warbly and messy back here. I think I want this pretty close to the surface. Let's do a tail real quick, since we're running out of time. For those that don't know about our thick, juicy boy here. For a tail, well, first of all, this tail is going to be coming like right out of the juicy, I would guess, which is unfortunate. So maybe we can create like a little tear in the pants or something. So for the tail here, I'll just sample this base color that, ooh, let's reapply that blue. Get that base color again. I'm gonna use the curve tube snap brush, and on my pants, I'll just kind of pull this out very quickly. Oh, we still have our settings from earlier, so let's readjust that, turn off size, make sure that that's fixed, and whoops, here's our basic tail. Now we can make this longer and more thin, but in all honesty, it's just going to be easier to do it once. Get out of that. Alright, and that is not symmetrical, it's fine. Let's get our tail here a little bit longer. We also want it to be more thin and on the ground. It's pretty easy to do. It's actually like wrapping around him. I just want to get it in a good symmetrical place here, and I'll save the changes there for posing. But it looks like it's coming out in front of his legs, so I think the length here that we have is pretty good for something like that. And then for the actual tube of geometry here, what I'm gonna do is just clean it up with the Z modeler brush. Let me do a mirror and weld on this first. Alright, let's see what we're getting here. My only issue here is this area. And this kind of top portion here. It's getting a little crazier. No longer rounded. There we go. Now, throughout the length of this, essentially what I'm going to do, which is very easy, is just delete a few edge loops. So let's see, let's just delete like every, like 2/3 of these or so. Something like that. So simplify the tube, make it a little bit easier to manipulate. And it looks like his tail's actually kind of flattened there, which is a little sad. But yeah, we'll just kind of squash it down with our move brush. I think we got a pretty good simple tail here. Like I said, coming right out of the juicy. And we can sit here and adjust this if we need to, but I think for the most part, I'm fine with that. All right. We got like 10 more minutes or so I can probably at least get started on some eyes or transition some stuff up here in the face. I say we do that. Or if we have any specific questions, we can take a look at that. I hope they use that for the thumbnail. Well, in truth, I actually get to choose within reason, I choose the images that get used for the thumbnails in the future. So I'm the one who sends off a screenshot or a quick render or something like that. So here it is, guys. This is for the next thumbnail. Juicy. Actually, I'll do the front and back so people know what's up. Thick and juicy. You know. Oh no, it's just a turnaround. You know. You gotta get that thick and juicy boy out there. Oh God. All right. Control Shift click the mask. That is how you blur a mask. Yeah. But here, I'll show you guys something. So if you control click, so if you have something masked and then control click to blur your mask, it actually only blurs it one direction. So you can see how it's blurring it along the mask's edge. So you have to flip your mask and then blur it the other way. But if instead you use the masking blur mask button, it will blur it both directions. So you can probably see the little bit of difference there. So again, I'll do it up here, control click. See how it's only masking one direction towards the mask, and that blurred both ways? Watch. Now you'll see this edge blur out here. Blur, blur, blur. Pretty cool. So what I've done is I've just set up a hotkey that activates that button. I just press Control B a couple times and it blurs my mask. Now we need to undo, get back to our pants. Ooh, come back. Oh, Nelly. There we go. Thick boy. This is, yeah, I've done a lot of stupid things in ZBrush, but this is a pretty good one. Oh wow, that eyebrow is really messing with my head. His eyes are so tiny, they're just really small slits. In all honesty, we could probably just represent them with some quick triangles. Let's do that. I'll just duplicate this. You know what, let's just insert a quick cube up here. Sample that off black, and this will just be a placeholder for now. It'll get the job done. Oops, wrong way. Now I could make this an insert mesh or something, but I'm literally just gonna put like a couple triangles here. Bam! For a quick placeholder, like I said. Alright, let's scale those in. There's some nice, cute, clean, whoops, black eyes. Very close together too. They're very tiny and very close together. So what I'll actually do for the eyes later on, but we're out of time, is actually sculpt in the cavity for where those eyes need to go. They're so small and simple though that I might actually be able to use these triangles to do a Boolean subtraction to remove that eye cavity and then put in an eyeball behind there. And then the eyebrows are pretty simple as well. They're just essentially some shaped up cubes that we can adjust with like the Z modeler brush, add some thickness too, that won't be too hard. And the poly painting here for the stripes, there's probably some interesting methods we could use to do that. But, I mean, most of the hard work, in all honesty, is out of the way in terms of blocking out the character and figuring out proportions and all that stuff. That stuff is always really tough, and of course it'll change as we continue on with this dude. But I think that's going to be a pretty good spot for us to stop for tonight, unless we got any additional last-minute questions that we can take care of here. I don't know. We'll just leave that block out color for now. You better. Use that for the thumbnail. All right. I'll take care of it. Control Alt click on the mask and no audio, so it may have been answered. No worries, man. We appreciate the text as well for those who maybe have some trouble hearing as well. Let's see. If you can't do stupid things while you're working, there's no point. Absolutely. Francisco, you have a great night, man, as well as everybody else. Again, for those that are new here, this is the Pixelogic ZBrush channel. If you guys didn't see the announcement earlier, ZBrush 2019 is going to be releasing tomorrow on March 6th at noon Pacific. So be on the lookout for that. You'll be able to get your upgrade for that if you already own the license. As well as if you guys want to check out the video, for those that didn't, there is a VOD, video on demand, that you can watch over on the Twitch channel. And I believe they will have it up on the YouTube channel here shortly, if it is not already on there. Yeah, during my time here streaming, they may have already finished uploading that. But let's see. Other than that, if it's your first time here, never seen me before, I'm Follygon. If you guys want to check out my stuff, youtube.com/Follygon. That's my YouTube channel. I have a bunch of tutorials, videos, free stuff on there, as well as some paid content over on my Gumroad. You can find all this just by Google searching Follygon, or by going to gumroad.com/Follygon. We have some courses and tutorials, brushes, materials, base meshes, running out of fingers, some additional brushes, my custom UI, all sorts of cool stuff on there, so I'd appreciate it if you check it out. And I think that's going to be it for tonight. Same, yes. Well, it's going to be an exciting time tomorrow. I hope everybody's super excited for ZBrush 2019. I will see you guys. Thank you, Kana. Yes, I will see you guys next Tuesday, same time, same place, as well as this Friday over on my Twitch channel. I am doing live critiques at noon Eastern U.S. time. So if you guys are interested in that, check out my Twitch channel, or just email me, follygon@gmail.com, with a Z tool, and we'll be doing some more live critiques this Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun, so come and hang out. All right, I will see you guys next time. Have a great night.